So, a very good morning to our dearest audience, and welcome to our fifth LinkedIn Live session by Glida. Today, we'll explore an exciting session with Sushil Reddy titled Journeying the Future Decoding Long EV Trips. So, over to you, Sushil, if you can give a small introduction about yourself.
Okay, firstly, thank you so much, Sakshi, Avdesh, and the entire Glida team for giving me this opportunity to share some learnings from the journey and also supporting the series of journeys that I've been doing on electric vehicles. So, as an introduction, my name is Sushil Reddy. I have been doing this project called the Sun Pedal Ride since 2016 as an awareness drive using zero tailpipe emission mobility vehicles. And each journey since 2016 has been an endurance journey for more than maybe 2 months at a stretch. Started with an electric bicycle journey in 2016, which also has a mention in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest e-bike journey. And since 2016, me and the team, we come together every year. We plan to do one such long journey, purely as an from the point of view of raising awareness about electric vehicles and busting myths about long distance travel on electric vehicles. And since 2022, we have been doing these journeys on electric cars. And that's when we started to participate or collaborate with Glida uh, to raise awareness about the to reduce the range anxiety, the charge anxiety by doing such long journeys on electric cars. And currently, just now, I completed a journey of 10,000 kilometers on the Tata Curve electric car, which was completed in 51 days. And so, yeah, this is a background of the project, and I'm happy to share more experiences in this conversation.
Thank you, Sushil. So I think good morning, the audience. I'm Avdesh Jha. I'm Executive Director of Glida. Uh, as a part of series of creating awareness, all of you know that we are holding this LinkedIn Live and this is the fourth episode of that one. Uh, the focus for this time would be basically to understand from someone who have undertaken an extensive journey on the electric vehicles, particularly the car in India, and through different routes. So some locations which might have prevalent of the chargers, some locations might not have at all any presence of the public charging. But he has traveled across India, all parts of India, from 2022 onwards during the last 3 years. So, but before Sushil, we go to that journey and then you share your experience with the larger audience. Just to give you a context that we have also as a brand propositions for the leader, our brand proposition, one of the brand proposition is to create a public charging network. And also another is to create the right or give the right information to the end customer. And that's where this series is, and that's where we thought that who could be the right more better person than you who have just completed a journey of 10,000 kilometers on electric car. But before we go there, I would like to understand, I mean, about something about your team composition. And the second aspect is that have you also undertaken any drive on the electric three-wheelers in India, or only you have done the car in India?
So, Avdesh, as I said, the first journey was on an electric bicycle in 2016. And in 2019, as a part of this series of journeys, me and the team, we did 6,000 kilometers in 60 days on a retrofitted solar powered electric auto rickshaw. It was a three-wheeler journey along the Golden Quadrilateral. And it was a Bajaj petrol rickshaw which got retrofitted by a company in Bengaluru called Volta Automotive India. So we partnered with them and we added a solar panel on the roof of 300 watt peak, and which extended the range of the rickshaw by about 30-40 kilometers on a good sunny day. So we used to get like 120 kilometers on a single charge using the solar panel on a good sunny day. And we did that journey in the peak of summer in 2019 in the April, May months. That was quite a interesting experience. And also we met a lot of auto rickshaw drivers. to give them an experience of how this electric auto rickshaw works in that whole journey. And the target audience was completely different, as you can imagine. But it was quite an interesting experience, that one. But yeah, we
And
have done the multiple types of vehicles. Yeah.
and was it lithium-ion battery or was it the lead-acid battery?
It was a lithium-ion battery pack,
Okay.
approximately 4 kilowatt hour. It was the battery capacity, and
Hmm.
it was also like a swappable battery. You could really remove the battery. Of course, you needed two people to lift the battery pack, but
Hmm.
we used to take it wherever we stayed. We plugged it in overnight. Sometimes where there's no solar power, it was quite an experiment. Yeah.
And those during that point of time, 2019, I'm pretty sure there would not have been much public charging network you might have found on the route.
No, no, not really. We were just either relying on home chargers. We had a portable charging cable for the lithium-ion battery, which was swappable. Otherwise, the solar panel was helping during the day to increase the range a little bit. So we in fact did not use the public chargers at all in that 6,000 kilometers of the rickshaw drive.
So coming from that 2019 experience in three-wheelers, 6,000 kilometer,
Yeah.
to now 10,000 kilometer in 2025 in a very good car, I would say,
Yeah.
Tata Curve. If you can take us through or take the audience through the journey in the cars, from
Yeah.
2022 onwards, which you have done, in terms of especially trying to focus on what has been your experience on the range. Did you feel any range anxiety during the period in 2022, and how it was translated in now 2025? Was it better? Was it worse? And also taking in cue that how you find the charging infrastructure along the route.
Mhm. Yes, sure, Avdesh. So basically, in 2022, I had an idea that can we do a long journey on an electric car? Even I was new to the whole idea of doing long journeys on electric cars, and I myself wanted to experience how that whole process would be of planning such a long route, intercity journey, and the network of charging, etc. So I started to research a little on the public charging network back then in 2022, when I was planning to put the whole piece of the puzzle together of the route, the car, etc. So to be honest, the route that of course we chose was a golden quadrilateral: Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. So that was our target route that we aimed to cover in the electric car, which was the MG ZS EV back then. And when I was looking at the charging network on that particular highway, of course, it was limited. Talking about Delhi to Kolkata stretch, talking about Kolkata to Chennai along the east coast. In 2022, there were hardly any charging network, any stations on that particular stretch of the highway. Of course, coming from Bangalore to Mumbai, Mumbai to Delhi was decently electrified, or there were much more options compared to Delhi Kolkata or Kolkata Bangalore, Kolkata Chennai. So the in my planning, per day distance to be covered, I put it as lesser than range of the car. So I had a rough estimate of the range of the MG ZS EV, which was close to say 250 to 300 kilometers per charge. 250 was the conservative figure that we went with when we planned this whole journey route. And it was a 50 kilowatt hour battery pack, I remember, of the MG ZS EV, which was giving 250 kilometers on a normal driving scenario. But in the planning, I put per day covering the distance to be less than the range of the car, because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure of the public charging network. I wasn't sure about the number of chargers or the reliability of the chargers. So my idea was, wherever we go and stay in the night in that particular city, we'll use the slow charging network, or using a portable charger, plug it in into a 15 ampere 3-pin supply socket, which is your air conditioner, water cooler, geyser socket. So since I myself had that anxiety in the first journey, so in the planning itself, I incorporated such that we use slow charging as much as possible, because I wasn't sure of the public charging network. But having done the whole journey in 2022, I realized that I need not only rely on slow charging. I have seen fast chargers in my first journey, and then I experienced some of the fast charging, sessions. Then I realized, okay, you know what? It's not necessary that in intercity journeys I only have to rely on slow charging. And coming to the next journey which I did last year, from Mumbai to Kaziranga, so all the way to the northeast and coming back to Mumbai. In the planning of that particular journey, I incorporated the fact that now I rely more on the public charging network, so I can do longer distances per day, not just limit myself to distance per day to be less than the range of the car, right? So again, the second journey was on the MG ZS EV, and because I was more confident from my first journey that I can rely on the public charging network, which has increased since 2022. Every year, the number of charging stations have increased, the reliability of stations have increased, uh, the the number of options to charge have increased. And not only in tier 1 cities, right? Go to tier 2 cities, there are, of course, they are limited, but still, you have options to charge in tier 2 cities, in smaller cities as well. So in the second journey in 2024, going from Mumbai to Kaziranga and back, uh, we relied a lot more on the public DC fast charging stations and lesser on the slow overnight chargers.
Hmm.
So that was a slight difference, which I can tell you. And also in the planning itself, it took lesser time to plan such a long journey, coming from the first journey experience, and coming to this particular journey, it took even lesser time to plan compared to the two previous journeys. And now the distance is much more, which I have covered per day on an average, compared to the previous two journeys. So the confidence in me has increased to do long distance intercity journeys. Firstly, thanks to the increased network of public DC fast chargers across India, not only in tier 1 cities, but going into smaller towns, cities, interiors of the states. And also thanks to the long range vehicles that are coming up. So this particular journey was on the Tata Curve electric car with a 55 kilowatt hour battery pack, easily giving 350 kilometers on a single charge. Easily, like I'm still giving you a conservative figure, with air conditioner on full load. 350 kilometers is quite a good distance, if you think about range in an EV. And the current modern EVs, if you see, they're easily able to cover more than 350 kilometers, around that figure, even 400 plus kilometers, with a bigger battery packs that are coming into the vehicles. So higher range vehicles, which has reduced the range anxiety, and also the charging network, which has increased in terms of number of charging points, and reliability of those charging stations also increased. So which has reduced the range and charge anxiety compared to my first journey versus now. So this is a difference I have personally seen doing these journeys, and it's a quite a positive shift for anybody who was planning to do a long distance intercity journey. Of course, it takes some planning, but it has become a lot easier in my experience.
So, Sushil, interesting point, because from 2022, when you were relying mainly on the slow charging owned by the property owners, because you didn't find such a spread network of the public charging, and to 2025, so less than 3 years, you are finding a good amount of the public charging. So obviously that is the hypothesis. We also, as a charge point operator, we believe that if the people see more and more public charging, particularly the fast charging, not only along the highways but even within the cities, probably that will give them much more confidence, because in combination with the vehicles which is coming with a large range, and then a good high capacity reliable chargers, people will get more confident. So I'm bringing back to you, from the user behavior point of view. So when you are driving in this trip for 350 kilometer, you are assured that 350 kilometer would be the range. But during any part of the journey, were you necessarily driving up to 300 kilometers and then stopping, or you were also stopping in between for bio breaks, for food and all? So what, I mean, if you can just drill down, what was the normal routine during your journey in the stopping and all.
Mhm. Okay, so I'll give you a just a brief day how it looked like on this particular journey. So as I said, in this journey, we tried to cover more kilometers per day as compared to the range of the car. So there were many days where we covered like 500, 600 kilometers in one single day. Now I want to walk you through how that day looked like in terms of planning. So firstly, it is very important to know the range of the vehicle,
Hmm.
what you're driving, or at least an approximate range. Or on the conservative side, you should know this many amount of kilometers is what the car can provide in one single charge. So that is one important point. Second is very important to also look at the route that you're going to take from point A to point B. If that is a distance to be covered, say 500, 600 kilometers, how does the road look like? Is there an elevation gain? Are you climbing up? Are you going down? Those slight elevation differences are also very important to understand, because your battery performance or the range can differ significantly if you are, for example, going on an uphill. So your dashboard range the car might show is not the range that you might get, especially if you're going up. So looking at the elevation of the route is very important. So that is the second point. And if you're covering distance longer than the range of the car, of course, you have to look at charging stations, right? Now, there are multiple online resources available today where you can locate, the different charging networks or charging stations that are available on that particular route. So, in my experience or in my planning phase, I map out at least 3 or 4 charging stations if I'm covering, say, 500 kilometers. In my plan, I have, charger A, charger B, charger C, charger D, charger E. Say, 4 or 5 options. I've looked at online resources. There are apps. Say, for example, if Glida has an app, I look at the highway from Mumbai to Ahmedabad or Mumbai to Surat. I have three or four Glida EV chargers, so I map out that on my planning sheet, and I look at approximate distance between each of these chargers. And I also look at where are these chargers located. Are they located next to a hotel where there are amenities? So my preference would be to stop at a fast charging station where there are amenities. For example, if it's on a highway, because if I'm traveling, say, 500 kilometers in one single day, if my stop for charging coincides with my stop to eat or to use the restroom, so I would prefer that particular location. So I look at charging stations where there are amenities, and then usually it's not a very long stop on the highway. So typically we are speaking of say 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or maximum 1 hour on at a fast charging station on a highway, which also means if you take this Tata Curve EV to a 60 kilowatt Glida fast charging station, it will add easily in about 30 minutes. You are getting like 30 units of electricity added into the vehicle, which means an added range of more than 150 kilometers, right? Or even close to 200 kilometers in half an hour. So that is a good enough stop for me to stop on the highway. That one charging stop, that is good enough to cover for me to cover, say, 500, 600 kilometers, because the range of the car is also 300, 350 approximately. So with an added 200 kilometers, I get much more than needed for me to reach the destination, right? But the important point of where to stop, which charging stop to locate, how to locate the right charging pit stop on the highway is also very important, because you need not want to waste time when you're
Hmm.
charging, right? You want to do something else, which is
Hmm.
ideally also a lunch stop on the highway, right? So always I look out for amenities next to the charger where I can also eat, take some rest break, stretch your body a little bit, and then move ahead. So that is typically how a day of a long drive, which is more than the distance of the range of the car, looked like typically.
Yeah, so I think the couple of points which you made very would be very informative. So one, you said that Generally, if we travel along the highways and if we can plan in a manner that it also coincides with our natural stop. So because if we are driving for the lunch, for the dinner, for the breakfast, if it coincides with that one, then absolutely we are saving time because then we are doing both the things concurrently. But then presence of the good battery technology in the vehicles, which allows faster intake of the power, that also helps, reduce the time. So, but tell me one thing, during this journey, on an average, when you plan for, let's say, four chargers, you said that between Mumbai to Surat or Mumbai to Ahmedabad, you mapped 4 or 5 locations. And during these 4 or 5 locations, I'm pretty sure you might not have gone to all the 4 or 5 locations because that is not required.
Mhm.
But what has been your experience in terms of reliability of the chargers? That was the chargers functional or was the power available? So let's say there could be a situations where the grid is available but the charger is not functional, and second could be the situations when grid is not available but the charger is in any case will not be able to dispense. So
Yeah.
normally, what kind of situations generally you find that everything was normal or there was some hitch, some issues with the reliability also?
Okay, a very good point of this. So, talking about power outage or no grid electricity, we faced that issue or that challenge in some cities. So, for example, when we were traveling in Dwarka or Bhuj, Kutch region, where there was no electricity in the city of Dwarka for almost 3 hours, which meant
Okay.
we had to wait at the charging station for the power to come back from the grid to the station, and then charge for the next leg towards Rajkot. Right, so that was one example, and then also in Madhya Pradesh, I remember in
Mm,
Sagar area or Sagar to Satpura region, there was a lack of
mm,
electricity, which also delayed
mm,
the schedule of our journey a little. So this is purely this can happen. I'm not saying this is not possible, but not impossible, but this is something that you have to really factor in when you are traveling on an EV, especially in places where there is load shedding happening or there is electricity grid issues. And it doesn't happen in all cities, of course. The metro cities are still okay. Talking about the Mumbai to Ahmedabad stretch, talking about Jaipur, Delhi, talking about around Delhi NCR, or Delhi to Agra, or even like Indore, Bhopal, Nasik, Pune, Mumbai, that stretch, there was no issue. But there was some, tier two cities where electricity outage is still a problem.
mm,
The other challenge is, as you mentioned, the station itself not not working.
mm, mm,
Uh, so I have some numbers here. So yesterday I was counting the number of the total fast charging sessions we had in this 10,000 kilometer drive. So we
mm.
had close to 50 fast charging sessions in this 10,000 kilometer drive across
Mm.
different CPOs, and
How many sessions you said? How many sessions?
50,
50
close to 50.
sessions.
Yeah,
Yes.
50. So we
Mm,
had 50 fast charging sessions in this whole
mm,
10,000 kilometer drive, and
mm,
uh, I would say in these 50 sessions, or rather, the stops that we took um, out of them, approximately 5 to 7 stations were
mm,
uh, were not working. Rather, electricity
mm,
was there, but there was some issue with the hardware or
mm,
the app, or there's some issue with
mm,
the charger, which didn't
mm,
didn't allow us to charge. But
mm,
otherwise, if you consider, out of 50, 5 is still a small number, but
mm,
uh, but but it didn't hamper the journey a lot, because, to be very honest, there were options to charge. If there's one doesn't work, there's next station about 20 kilometers away, 30 kilometers away, 50 kilometers away. So it is also important to map out multiple chargers. That is exactly the reason
mm,
why, because
mm,
you can't rely on only on one company's charging station. Maybe have multiple options available in the planning phase itself. If one doesn't work, the next one is right around the corner or on the highway a little farther away. So in the planning phase, that is why we look at multiple stations. Even if we don't stop at all, at least we have them mapped out in the planning of the route.
Okay, so I think so. First of all, see, uh, in the percentage term, it might look small, the 10%. Out of 50, five were not working. So this roughly it means that 90% availability is there. That's a good, I would say, for the ecosystem in the beginning stage. But from a consumer point of view, because since you were traveling and you were doing for these 50 sessions because you were traveling for 10,000 kilometers. But if somebody was traveling in that particular stretch and only that charger was available, then that would be clearly a disaster for the
Yeah.
end customer, because then for them it would be 100% non-reliabilities. So
Yeah.
I think, yes, this brings out a very important points even for the charge point operators like us, that there should be a good approach on the technology selections, that who are the suppliers, because if they have done a good technology, they have a good product, so that increases their reliability. Similarly, you need to have the good software as well, working, and because all the chargers are unmanned.
Yeah.
So this clearly brings in focus the requirement for a good hardware as well as the good software. Uh,
Mhm.
but tell me, from the when you reach there, though you had mapped it, I can understand you are a well planned. But at that moment, when you find those chargers not working, what was going through in your mind at that particular point of time?
Yeah. Uh, I mean, to be honest, it is a little frustrating because you plan to be charging over there as per your plan, and if it doesn't work, you try multiple times, you call up the customer care. Some are good experiences, some are bad experiences. Uh, so I, I I agree that some things might not work all the time, but if you have a good customer care service, or somebody who can answer the call or say, you know what, this is the problem here, we'll find you an alternate charger, you can go there and charge, even a little, that customer service would have some faith in the EV user, that okay, you know what, being taken care of, even if I know that this particular charger is not working for XYZ reason. I have another option given by the company's team, that okay, this is not working, please go to the next charger. So I think that message, it helps the EV user. Even if the EV user is really frustrated, he knows that what can be done, he has some answer from the company. So I think that customer service is also very important from the EV user's point of view, I'm talking about. But otherwise, the initial thought is always a little, oh shit, this is not working. What should we do? There's some anxiety there always. But again, that's why planning is also necessary. Yeah.
And how many people were there with you at that point of time? I mean, when were you traveling? Three people or?
So yeah, we were three of us in
Hmm.
the whole journey. So I was constant in the whole journey, but the two people with me, they kept changing every 15 days, 10, 15 days.
Hmm.
But we were three of us at that particular moment.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, this happened, I remember, this was somewhere between Rajkot and Bhuj. So there was a
Hmm.
highway, and there was in fact, it happened at a food court called
Hmm.
Honest Food Court, and we were really, wanting to stop and eat over there because it was lunchtime, and we planned to stop and charge and everything, but we went to the CPO, and the station was not working, and we couldn't even get a proper response from the company. So we were a little frustrated, but anyway, we had lunch because it was lunchtime. We wasted our time, 1 hour, so we had to stop another place for an hour to charge. But anyway, this was one of the very few experiences that I'm highlighting, because this can occur, and
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, so far, I mean, I'll touch base with your journey and the area of you had gone to the national park also, right? In some of the
Yes.
national park you went. So
Yeah.
before we go there, I mean, so far, based on this, what would be your few? I mean, besides those 3 points which you said for an individual, that you should know the range of the vehicle, look at the route, then find the charging stations, always have a plan, and then probably look for two, three reliable, the CPOs or the EMSPs. But apart from this, anything else you would like to share with the general audience that when they decide to buy electric vehicle, electric car, what are the other things they should keep in mind, especially on the battery, particularly the battery health? So were you given any instructions or any guidance from the manufacturers that how you should take care of the battery? Because 10,000 kilometers you travel, and that's a good amount, because you, I think, different temperature range or zone you might have encountered. So do you have any feedback or inputs on the battery? How do we maintain the battery, and how do we charge the batteries and all?
Sure. So, in fact, when I was given the car from the Tata team told me a charging behavior pattern that I need to follow. So the Tata
Mm.
Curve EV with this 55 kilowatt hour battery pack has LFP cells, LFP prismatic cells, and the Tata team told me that every 3 or 4 fast charging sessions, I have to do 100% slow charging session. Uh, and to be honest, I did not follow it. It is very difficult in the journey like this to follow this charging pattern, because my journey is not planned according to the charging pattern, right? My journey is planned according to my plan, and to follow that pattern of three fast, one slow, three fast, one slow, it is next to impossible. Uh, Maybe it is possible in a case where you are using the EV within the city boundaries, or you are using intra-city for your home work, home commute sort of a use case. Maybe there there is more certainty in the pattern of charging, that you it's more control that you have, rather than in such a long intercity journey, uh, to have that charging pattern formed. So that is one thing I want to highlight, that of course in such a long intercity journey I did not follow it, to be very honest. But that doesn't mean, of course, I need to go and ask the Tata team what is the battery health right now of the car. uh, Apart from that, when people ask me, should I buy an EV, I ask them back, uh, firstly, what is the budget? What is the upfront cost that you can put in today to buy an EV, right? So there are multiple options of vehicles available, and so that is the first thing. The second thing is, what is the geography of the usage of the electric car? Are you going to use the EV within cities, or are you primarily thinking of doing long intercity journeys? So that geography of usage, at least a tentative idea that majority of the usage is within the city, or you're going out and coming back, that is also very important to know. And also the third point is, how many kilometers are you going to run it, per month, per year, on an average, so that you at least can calculate your own ROI, because you're putting in X amount of money today. If you're not running the vehicle for such a long distance, it may, the ROI can be a long time. And of course, the battery pack, the pricing, battery pack will give you the range of the vehicle, right? So you can choose the battery pack accordingly, depending on your use case, or where are you going to use the EV. And the geography will also tell you the charging network situation. How many
Mm.
charging stations are there in that particular area that you're going to use the vehicle, right? In a city or intra-city, or near around the city. So say Mumbai or around Mumbai, if you're going to use the vehicle, that it is, the charging network is better than going to say Indore or Bhopal, or say cities like that. So these things are very important for you to realize before buying a particular EV, I think.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, I when I put myself in the shoes of a consumer, or as a consumer when I trade, clearly I will feel, irritated if I am advised that you should count how many charging sessions you are having on the fast, and then you need to have a slow charging sessions. So obviously, as a customer, I might lose track of keeping these counts. That's one. So obviously, I would like the OEMs to give us the confidence that fine, it's your choice. Wherever you find bad chargers, do charge. Because see, in the ultimate scenario, what I envisage in a crowded cities like Delhi and Mumbai, uh, probably it will be difficult for everyone to find charging at home, right? Which normally is a good preferred mode for the slow charging. Even at the workplace, it will take more time to get into that slow charging. So I think that is something which OEM should think through. That is this mandatory requirement. Should it be the mandatory? And as you said, the geography of uses, yes, we should be aware of, and the kilometer. And at this stage, you are right, Sushil. I am of the view that as the vehicle price is falling, year by year, once the upfront cost of the vehicle and the ICE becomes at par, and then probably people don't have to do all these calculations. So this is normally when we were buying diesel car. At that point of time, when the difference between petrol and diesel was huge,
Yeah.
so that it was making a huge difference in the running cost, then we were doing these calculations that fine, I'm paying 2 lakh rupees extra on the diesel, and I will
Yeah.
get compensated by the extra savings. But now when the diesel and petrol price is more or less same, the fuel price is more or less same, people have is agnostic. Now if they choose diesel, they choose for a different purpose, not for saving the cost, but for a different purpose, maybe for performance or something else.
Mhm.
Similarly, I think the ICE, this EV will also reach that stage, maybe a couple of years
Yeah.
down the line, when
Mhm.
people will have a choice of petrol and the EV, and they will make a decision depending upon their specific need, not necessarily on the per kilometer, but then larger performance and the comfort and the safety and all those aspects. So I think
Mhm.
that is a good insight. Uh, One more point I would like to understand before I see that if we have any comments from the audience.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, uh, when we talk about the individual behavior,
Mhm.
uh, do you feel that the EV, especially this long, because now India is building a good quality road, and that is what
Yeah.
we pursue. So, what has been your experience? Because you have been driving through the highways and
Yeah.
expressways.
Yeah.
What is the difference in quality of the road you have seen from
Yeah.
2019 and to
Yeah.
2025? And then do you feel that that is also will be motivating the people to drive more?
Yeah.
And if they drive more, then they require more charging points along those highways as well.
Yeah, very good point, Avdesh. I personally seen, having done these journeys across multiple years, the quality of road infrastructure has improved tremendously across the country. To be honest, coming to the expressways, connecting, major cities versus also looking at interior roads, like from in this particular journey from Ahmedabad all along the coast to Dwarka, such a nice road. You wouldn't know that this coastal highway of Gujarat is such a properly paved road and very safe to drive. So I think the road network, the infrastructure, the quality of roads will definitely make people travel longer on EVs also. Having said that, if you talk about expressways, that is something that there's still lack of charging stations on expressways that I have seen personally. In fact, there's one experience I can share with you. Um, we were traveling from Bikaner to Jaisalmer, or rather, sorry,
Hmm.
Jodhpur to Jaisalmer on this particular route. And there is a Jamnagar Amritsar expressway which crosses it,
Hmm.
right across from south to north. And our route was east to west. And at the
Hmm.
junction of Jodhpur to Jaisalmer and that expressway from Jamnagar to Amritsar, at that junction there was a charging station which was on the expressway. So that was one charging station I found that to be on the expressway, but that stop was at a truck rest stop. It was like a truck stop on the expressway where there was a charging station put up, and that was just coming up. The amenities were still yet to be there at the truck stop on the expressway. but we had to stop there because there was no other option on that highway from Jodhpur to Jaisalmer to stop. But the good thing is, these charging stations are coming up on the expressway rest stops, which are just upcoming. It's just beginning. I think I would like to see more such stations on expressways, which can also have more people travel on the expressways and not exit the expressways to take a charging stop and come back and again take the expressway. But the road network has definitely made it much safer. People are traveling longer distances, and it will only benefit the whole idea of e-mobility, right? People traveling more on electric vehicles with long range vehicles, a charging network coming up. So it's only positive, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, see, I, I always advocate that, our infrastructure space in the country has to be rethought, in terms of its designing and the planning. And when I say the infrastructure, I mean particularly the power and the road, because this is I would say intersection. The electric vehicle is the intersection of the road as well as the transport as well as the power,
Mhm.
and both these infrastructure space have not been designed initially. The design was not when the EV was not there. It was designed when EV was not. Entire electricity grid is designed for the end consumer in view, not the vehicle as a consumer. Now here the
Yeah.
vehicle is coming as a consumer. They are adding
Mhm.
variability in the systems.
Mhm.
So I think that mindset has to change at the designer and the planner level, and same goes with the expressway. See, normally in the expressway, by definitions, it is restricted entry and exit.
Yeah.
So, and when I was driving from Agra to Lucknow, and
Mhm.
I found it very strange that there were only one amenities,
Yeah.
between Agra to Lucknow. Now, if you are driving, and that's the authorized entry exit, and you can't build any charging station at any other place. So I
Yeah.
think what is important is that for the planner, for the government, is that whenever they are conceptualizing any expressway, they should inbuild the provisions for the EV charging, and they
Yeah.
should have these concept of the entry exit keeping EV in view,
Yeah.
not the petrol stations and just for recharging the individuals, but for recharging the vehicles. And that
Mhm.
probably increase the frequency of the pit stops or the rest stops.
Mhm.
Uh, one element which I'm curious to understand: you drove almost 10,000 kilometer in
Mhm.
50 days. Did you
Mhm.
find did you spot any electric vehicle or electric bus or electric trucks on the
Mhm.
highways?
Yes, I have seen electric buses. I've seen
Hmm.
the intercity electric buses. I remember on the Bhopal Indore route, there was the New Go electric buses that I've seen a lot. And also, I think it was around the Delhi NCR region also, going down towards UP. So that also I have seen. So electric buses, of course, in cities, in many cities across India, there are these electric buses that are plying as public transportation options, and that has become very common. I've seen it, across many cities in India in this journey, and which is a good thing. People have a choice when it comes to using electric mobility. Even if they don't own an electric vehicle, they can hop onto a public electric bus and help their cause to reduce the carbon footprint. So it's a good way to let people experience electric vehicles, for them to understand the benefits of EVs. So I haven't come across electric trucks in my journey, but electric buses for sure, many of them. Yeah.
Good, good. Okay, so at this point, Sushil, I would take one observations from Sanjay Rishi, and he's saying that as a potential buyer exploring EV vehicles, I find the salespeople in the dealership locations do not come across as knowledgeable or convincing when one speaks about the battery. Will it last? Issues one may face, and the salespeople give a vibe of nothing will go wrong. And anyways, these days things are easily replaced. Uh, I mean, how do you like to, comment on these observations? I mean, did you interact with any
Yeah,
salespeople? Obviously, in your case, it
yeah,
must have been more nuanced, more knowledgeable because you were provided the vehicle by Tata, so obviously they would have taken care of making you
yeah.
good understanding. But in general, what is your impression?
So very good point, Avdesh. In fact, I participated in an EV rally which happened in Delhi by the Tata team, and
Hmm.
there were a few like new buyers of Tata EVs there that I interacted
Hmm.
with, and some of them had this opinion that they still had doubts about the battery pack, even after talking to the sales team of Tata, because that I think that fear of what if there's a fire in the battery, what if things go wrong with the battery is still there, because that is the fear, common fear among people, and that is a common question even I have been asked in this entire journey. What about battery lifetime? How many life cycles a battery would last? uh, do I have to replace the battery that often? So these questions are very common among people, and I think that still exists. And what I feel can be interesting is the OEMs have to be a little more clear and transparent when it comes to talking to the customers about the battery pack scenario. How many life cycles you can expect, even charging, how does it affect the battery life, slow versus fast. All these small aspects have to be made knowledgeable to the potential customer from the OEM side, so that that fear of what happens to the battery is not there. But I feel that that's still missing, and the person has rightly pointed out that it has to be done from the OEM side to make the potential customer more convincing about the fact that, okay, you know what, nothing will happen to the battery. The OEM will take care of it under so and so conditions. There are terms and conditions for the warranty. All of that have to be really clearly put out when the customer is buying the EV. I think the batteries concerns are many, in my opinion. Yeah,
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, in fact, I always say that this is the time, especially in the EV, when every customer has a right to know their battery. So I call it the know your battery. So instead of
yeah,
KYC, I say the know your battery.
yeah,
And because battery, this is a chemical product which is sitting under the vehicle,
hmm,
and as you rightly said, safety and other things is a concern, and on top of that, the maximum price is attributed towards the battery. So one and that's obviously the OEM has a larger role to play. So they should educate their salespersons. They should not be the pure sales guy, but they should be a kind of a techno salesperson, so that who understands the batteries, they
yeah,
understand. And nowadays, consumers are much more aware because they do the Google and the other research
yeah,
before coming to the showroom. So they would have a different kind of questions.
yeah.
So yes, you're right. I will take another questions from Ankit Maheshwari, and he says that do you think an end user can take similar journeys now, maybe with lesser planning than yours? And what are your top guidance to them to undertake one in 2025?
Yeah, good question, Ankit. So, see, I would definitely say that it is not impossible to do long intercity journeys today in India. Not impossible at all. What it requires is a little bit of extra planning. When I say planning, primarily to locate charging stations. If you're looking at going to places in India where still the network is not very dense when it comes to charging stations, and as I said before, know the range of the vehicle, know the route elevation, know the exact route, the highway that you're going to take, and look at online resources to plan for charging stops and have multiple charging stations mapped out. You always have the option of portable charger if you have no other option of a fast charging station. So if you have these things covered in your planning, it is not at all impossible to go on a long distance electric car drive today. So in fact, people have this fear that if I take the car intercity, what will happen? I tell them that you should experience it yourself. Take your electric car, do a weekend journey of more than the range of the car, and once you do that journey, that fear will be gone. It's not it's not impossible. That first time fear is always there. I can imagine, I when I did the first journey, the fear was there with me. But now I think with the increased charging network, the longer range cars, it is only becoming easier to travel long distances on an electric car, and going across geographies. I've covered like states, like even passing through Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, going to the northeast, till Gangtok and Shillong. So we think that that there's no electricity or there's no charging stations over there, but it's not the case. It is not as bad as you think it is. So please, try doing this. You'll be surprised, and you will keep doing more intercity journeys, and it's only becoming easier. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think then we have a couple of more questions, and which I would take. It's more on the charging side. So Anu Prakash asked that, is it easy to install AC chargers inside the same charging station? So I think, Anu, this is, most of the CPUs are doing it. So in any charging stations, like in our charging stations, if you go to shopping malls, let's say in Bangalore, you will find the combination of slow as well as the fast charger. Even if you go to the DLF Promenade in Delhi, you will find the combination of DC as well as AC. So that's very common where you can put. The only thing is that, yes, on the AC charging, if any car comes, they take a longer time. They occupy more time for the same parking space compared to the fast charger. So the fast chargers can service more number of cars in the same point of time, whereas vis-a-vis AC charger. But installing is easy, and it's not that difficult. Then Sanjit says that, how much of this very fast charging, very fast he means referring is the ultra fast, like BYD, and in India is the Exponent, who is talking about the megawatt charging. His question is that, how much of this very fast charging about batteries versus charging infra? So first, I would like to have your view as a consumer. If you would have encountered, let's say, if you have found a megawatt chargers, and with this car of Tata Curve, what would have been your response with that, or interactions with those chargers? I just want to understand from the uninitiated consumer first, what is their view on this?
Sorry, Avdesh, I just lost you. Can you quickly repeat, please?
Okay. So I'm saying Sanjit's question is that, if we go for a megawatt chargers like the BYD has demonstrated, Exponent is there, how much is it about the battery versus charging infra?
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand first, before I answer this question. I would like to understand from you as a consumer, that in your journey, if you'd have found some megawatt chargers and you are driving the Tata Curve, what would have been your response to the interactions with those chargers?
Okay. So firstly, I would definitely prefer a faster charging solution if I have an option of slow versus fast. Who doesn't want to save time? So that is the first thing that comes to mind. But again, looking at the battery performance, the battery lifetime, the life cycles, that's another question to also remember, slow versus fast. But as a consumer doing such a long journey, the first thing that comes to mind is, let's get the charging done quickly and get out of there. So that is the first point of thinking. Even if I'm doing a long journey, the shorter the stops, the better. I don't want to spend a long time on the highway, of course, unless I'm doing something else. But if there's an option of fast charging versus slow charging, as a consumer, purely considering doing this whole journey, I would prefer a faster charging solution versus a slower one.
Yeah, and Sanjit, and I know that you have understanding of the batteries and the charging. The way I look at it, that this is definitely more a question of the battery first, because it is the battery which decides that how much power they can take at any point of time. So it is beginning with the battery itself. So if the battery is capable of taking this much of power, then it comes to the charging infra, because obviously it means a higher cost, upfront cost. It means higher grid infrastructure. Then does grid infrastructure support these kind of infrastructure or megawatt charging level of infrastructure, particularly along the highways? Because in India, we have not very reliable grid. I mean, as you have heard Sushil saying that some of the locations there were 3 hours power cut. So in that kind of situations, having a megawatt chargers along the highways, will it be economically feasible in the short run? Probably that is something which needs to be explored. But yes, it is more to do with the battery first, and then the charger follows on the megawatt. But as a consumer, yes, if I get in 5 minutes and I get a 200-kilometer range, I'll be more than happy, because this is how we have been used to doing at the gasoline stations.
Mm-hmm.
Then one user says that while cost saving with electric vehicles are well documented and their fuel efficiency is widely recognized, how would you describe and rate the overall ownership experience of an EV?
Okay. Firstly, a disclaimer: I don't own an EV yet, but I can give you my experience of driving it for 10,000 kilometers or multiple journeys now. I think the biggest benefits, I personally have seen is there's less fatigue, as a driver, as a passenger. Now, if you're doing long, like 10,000 kilometers, you ideally would feel tired after 2 months of driving an ICE vehicle, right? You would literally feel, I'm tired. I don't have energy to do anything else at the end of the day, even per day of driving. But on an EV, I have personally experienced this, and whoever has been on the journey, this kind of a journey, one biggest advantage is it definitely reduces the fatigue level. So you have more energy to do other stuff at the end of the day of driving such a long distance, and that is why we could also do events in universities, stop at multiple locations, talk to people, that require certain energy level after doing the journey, which only happened thanks to the electric car, right? The experience of driving and being in one. So that is one big advantage. Second is, of course, running cost, maintenance cost. As you rightly said, both are quite less compared to a similar performing ICE vehicle. uh, One thing which is still, the calculations are yet to be done, is the total cost of ownership. The total cost of ownership is something that, as Avdesh also mentioned, the upfront cost parity between ICE and EVs are not yet there, but they're getting there very soon. So once we have the upfront cost parity between ICE and EV vehicles, the total cost of ownership will definitely be much, much better for EVs, right? Even today, if you look at the long run, if you're driving an EV for more kilometers, it's always a better case for EVs compared to ICE vehicles. So I feel ownership experience, total cost of ownership, is definitely something that you can definitely feel confident in an EV, especially if you're buying an EV as a long term investment point of view. So it will only save you a lot in terms of money, and also in terms of the other benefits, that an EV brings in the ownership. So in my experience of driving multiple kilometers, I would definitely buy an EV at some point. That would be my first choice of a vehicle if ever I buy one, which is hopefully going to be soon. But I myself got convinced, driving such long kilometers, that EV is, definitely much better, not only in terms of saving the cost, but also in terms of other benefits, lesser fatigue, easy to drive, no clutch, no brake, lesser vibration, lesser noise. So there are so many other benefits to EVs apart from just the cost aspect, which makes them worthwhile compared to ICE vehicles.
Good. So, Sushil, and now we know that in India we have wide options, or the various options
Yeah,
of to choose from as far as car is concerned. So, different all the OEMs almost are coming with the multiple variants of the electric vehicles at a different price range. So, it is ranging from now as low as 4.5 lakh rupees to
yeah,
as high as almost 2 crore rupees. So you have
yeah,
the different variants getting to the different segments. So
yeah.
thank you, Sushil. It was very informative, I would say, interacting with you, understanding, and I'm sure the audience whosoever joined, and then those who have not joined, they can always get access to this live stream, at their convenience. So it was very informative, very interactive, and thank you for that. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Avdesh. I just want to say thank you very quickly to Glida team, everybody, Akshay, Ankit, Deepak, Vijeta, everybody who has been involved in these series of journeys, constantly supporting, making sure that the right knowledge is spread to the right people, and also to the younger generation. So I appreciate Avdesh and the entire team supporting this initiative since many years, and hoping to keep collaborating in the future so that we can give the right knowledge about EVs and charging and all the myths that have to be busted so that people adopt more electric vehicles. So again, thank you so much for everybody who has joined in, and happy to answer any questions anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.